God of War Ragnarok is the upcoming title in the God of War franchise being brought to us from Santa Monica Studio. And I want to talk about everything that we know now about this title, guys. We've talked about God of War and this future of this franchise moving forward. You guys can check out all of my God of War content here on the YouTube channel. But I want to talk about this untitled God of War sequel, codenamed Ragnarok. And I want to talk about everything that we know about it. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So with that being said, guys, according to the God of War sequel official Wikipedia page, Ragnarok is an action-adventure game currently in development by Santa Monica Studio and will be published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It is scheduled to be released in 2022 for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. It will be the 9th installment in the God of War series, the 9th chronologically, and the sequel to 2018's God of War. Loosely based on Norse mythology, the game will be set in ancient Norway and features series protagonist Kratos and his young son Atreus. The game is expected to initiate Ragnarok, a series of events that bring about the end of days and depicts the deaths of the Norse gods, which was foretold to happen in the previous game after Kratos killed Aesir god Baldur. With that being said, guys, obviously the official title during Sony's May 2021 investment filing, they included a title treatment to the game which stated the title is God of War Ragnarok. Although the investment filing was later changed to state only God of War, a report found that the logo used in the filing was unofficial and fan-made. Following, the various media outlets were uncertain of the legitimacy of the title of the game. In a statement to IGN, a representative from Sony stated that the game's logo and title were not yet finalized or official, and that the inclusion of the false logo in the investment filing was an error. So that being said, in an article written by Vic Hood and Henry St. Leger of Tech Radar, God of War Ragnarok has been delayed. So first of all, the title. I love the title. God of War Ragnarok I think is a great title. I think they should stick with it or something that sounds pretty, awesome, kind of like that. But that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually changed the title from Ragnarok, just because Sony Santa Monica, I feel that they might want to, keep it to itself. And obviously they want to kind of give us a little bit of a twist where everyone thinks it's called Ragnarok, but it's actually, they name it something else and that was just a code name. But I think God of War Ragnarok makes a lot of sense. I think that there's a lot of hype around that title. So that being said, I think maybe they'll just keep that title at the end of the day. God of War Ragnarok is on its way, and the latest news from Sony suggests it'll land on both the PS5 and PS4 sometime in 2022. Sony first unveiled a teaser for the God of War sequel at the end of its PlayStation 5 showcase back in September 2020. This teaser confirmed what we were all hoping for, a return of Kratos and his son. Although we might have longer to wait for the release, we've got high hopes for a God of War Ragnarok trailer soon. It's rumored that the official trailer might debut as part of the future Sony State of Play presentation showcasing upcoming PS5 titles in August of 2021, which would be absolutely awesome. The good news is we know that it is coming and it could be called Ragnarok. That is the name for a cataclysmic series of events in Norse mythology, which would be fitting for a game where you're almost certainly going to be wreaking havoc and battling with Norse gods. So apparently, guys, obviously that this title, the big question is the release date, and there's a lot of rumor that it's going to be 2022. My thought is take that date with a pinch of salt, or that year as a pinch of salt, just because of the pandemic and everything going on. It very well may have delayed things, so there's a possibility that it could be 2023, but let's hope, fingers crossed, it stays at 2022. So there was already speculation that Ragnarok could be delayed, given that Sony hadn't mentioned the sequel in its plans for 2021 since the game's announcement. Sony Santa Monica Studio confirmed the delay in June of 2021, releasing a statement on Twitter. It's unclear when in 2022 we can expect God of War Ragnarok, but we're hoping Sony gives us an update sometime later this year. So that being said, the God of War Ragnarok trailer dropped right at the end of Sony's live stream event in September 2020 and shows off a brief logo and the words Ragnarok is coming. It's the only trailer we've seen for the game to date. So with that being said, Sony has announced its next state of play will take place. Obviously, there's going to be one in August, which is pretty exciting. A small ray of hope comes at the close of the post as while God of War and other titles won't be a part of the live stream, it says stay tuned throughout the summer though, as we'll have more updates soon, and so hopefully August is the date. It'll launch when it's done, says the creative director, following the absence of an update on God of War Ragnarok during PlayStation's February 2021 State of Play. Santa Monica Studios creative director Cory Barlog appears to have posted a tweet in response to those asking for an update on the game. I don't know who needs to hear this, certainly not me, since I have never heard of it, but when it's done, trust that it's what's best for everyone. So very interesting tweet that he put out. When it's done, it's done. Barlog tweet doesn't directly mention God of War Ragnarok, but it seems likely that's what he's referring to. The game still has a fairly wide release window of 2021, but there have been rumors that it might be looking at a delay, and this tweet doesn't exactly clear them up. What's awesome, though, is that this title is going to be coming to PlayStation 4 as well. So you don't have to necessarily have the PS5, and we know how hard it is to get a PS5 now, or paying astronomical prices for it. Same thing with the Xbox Series X. So it's awesome that you'll be able to get be able to play it on PS4 or PS5. God of War Ragnarok was briefly teased at the end of the PS5 showcase event on September 16, 2020, where Sony also announced the price and release date of the next-gen PS5 console. A lot of job listings, guys. They're talking about there's not going to be any God of War DLC, which was promised, which does upset me a little bit. God of War director Cory Barlog had said there were originally plans for DLC for the 2018 reboot, but said they were halted for being too ambitious. That means the studio can invest resources into an entirely new game as opposed to post-launch content. Which is still, they promise something, and when you promise something, you should go through with it, right? And I feel that God of War, after beating that game, you moved on to other games, right? If there would have been some DLC and such, it would have brought you back to that experience. And that's why I'm hoping that God of War Ragnarok, or whatever this title is going to be called, it has more ways that we can connect with the title outside of the single-player story. That being said, at the end of God of War, we found out that Kratos' wife, Faye, was actually a giant called Laufey. That means Atreus is half god and half giant, and what's more, he has a different name altogether, Loki. You know Loki, the trickster in Norse mythology. Hopefully God of War Ragnarok will explore this further, and we'll find out more about Faye's secret past, as well as why she kept it all a secret in the first place. We're also hoping Atreus will embrace the shape-shifting abilities that Loki is notorious for, instead of simply standing on the sidelines, firing arrows at enemies. And Atreus isn't a boy anymore. The God of War sequel may continue on directly from the events of the previous game. However, we think it would be more interesting to see how a teenage Atreus and grumpy dad Kratos fare on an adventure. And I agree with that 100%. Now, like I said, guys, I'm very excited for this title, don't get me wrong. Extremely excited for it. I think it's got a lot of promise to it. I just really want to see more ways that we can connect with the game after you beat the single-player story. And there's nothing wrong with having just a single-player story, because single-player stories a lot of times sell very well. But in today's day and age, when it comes to gaming, I feel that having a full package is really, really important for obtaining and continuing to keep that fan base together. Whereas after beating a title, you don't move on to other games. You stay with that title, playing co-op with your friends, playing multiplayer, whether it's PvP or PvE elements where you go up against waves and waves of enemies. Whatever the case might be, I just hope that they continue innovating with the God of War franchise. But with that being said, guys, that's what we know so far about this title, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about God of War Ragnarok? Let me know, and for more God of War Ragnarok content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.